Hello everyone! Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Creating Conga Word Templates webinar. In this webinar, we'll show you techniques for creating customized Microsoft Word templates using Conga Composer. I'm Teresa Bowerly and I'll be your moderator for this session. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. The entire webinar is slated to last for about 30 minutes. We have a lot of registrants, so everyone's phones will be on mute. If you do have questions, please submit them online. We may not get to all of your questions, but we'll answer as many as we can during the FAQ section. Any questions that we do not get to, we will post to our knowledge base. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel as well as in our knowledge base. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Shelley Houlihan, who will be taking you through this session. Shelley is our Senior Product Specialist here at Conga. She's looking forward to sharing her expertise on creating Conga Word templates. Shelley?
Thanks, Teresa, so much, and thank you to all of you for attending today's webinar. We're always so pleased to have attendees who are eager to learn more about Conga. So as Teresa said, today's topic is Word templates. We are going to be showing you everything in our newest release, which is Conga Composer Release 8. You can upgrade to this new release anytime if you're a current customer, or if you're on a trial and you've just installed in the last few days, then this is the version that you already have. So just a quick reminder that we do support many different template types, everything from Excel, PowerPoint, and email to PDF, but today we will be focusing on Word. But if you have additional questions about the other template types, please see the resources on our website. We also have ongoing webinars on all those other topics, and then you can also reach out to our support team. In today's session, we're going to cover a simple Word template and show you a few basics that you need to know for foundational purposes, and then make a few tweaks and show you how you can turn that into what we're calling an intermediate template, which has a few more bells and whistles. So the simple template is going to cover master and opline items data sets. The opline items are basically your opportunity products. We're going to use a table as well as a detail region, which is just our fancy way of saying we're going to pull child data from the opportunity. Again, that's going to be the opline items. And then finally, we're going to format some fields for date and currency. In the intermediate template, we'll use table group, which is a really cool way to sort of summarize on a particular field value. We're also going to do a total on a particular table column, adjust a date field, which is a really cool trick to automatically adjust a date forward or backward into the past. And then finally we'll do a bit with table style so you can get some formatting tips and tricks. Okay, so I'm going to close out of the PowerPoint just briefly and then pull over my browser really quick, and let me maximize this so y'all can see this nice and easily. I'm just in a developer org, so this is all dummy data. But to start, I'm going to show you my Composer button, my Conga Composer button that I've already built out. And you all should hopefully be familiar with this, our Conga Composer user interface. And what I'm going to reach for right away is our template builder. So this is Tools and Settings, Template Builder. This is what we use to do just that, build templates. It simply provides a list of all of the fields that we have available to use in our merge process, or in other words, to build onto our Word template. And because I'm using a button on an opportunity, I'm going to get opportunity data under this master data set. You'll see this is all the opportunity fields. We give you account and primary contact role data as sort of a bonus, as well as the related account for that primary contact in case it's different than the main account. And then there is the opline items data set I mentioned just a moment ago. Again, this corresponds to opportunity products, which you can see just at the bottom of my screen here. So we've got everything from product name and quantity to price and dates. And then lastly, you'll see org and user, which is org is information about our company. User is whoever's logged in and running the system, so this is all my information. And then system are just a couple of bonus fields we give you called today and now. Today is today's date now is today's date with the time. Okay, so to start out, I want to show you all how to use the master and offline items data set. So I'm going to try to keep both of these windows up just so you can see this a bit easier. Let me adjust this just slightly. Okay, I think that'll be good. So to start, I just want to insert a table. We're really fond of using word tables here at Conga because it keeps things really nice and organized. So the easiest way to do this in Word is if you go to Insert, you click Table, and you can select as many columns, rows, etc. as you need. So I'm just going to throw a few in here. And you guys will notice I'm going to build out one of these from scratch, but then I'm going to do that old cooking show trick where I have one that's built out fully that will do a swap so you can see all of the bells and whistles at the end. And then we'll have those templates, they're available in our sample template library, so if that's something that you're interested in, you can easily just go grab it, or download it I should say, from our website. So from a really basic standpoint, let's say maybe I'm going to put a logo here, so you can put you know, images right within your table if you want. I actually don't have anything on my desktop that I want to put in there, but we'll just say like logo in brackets to remind us. Do a little placeholder. And then next I'm going to grab the opportunity name. So over here on the left side in my template builder, I'm simply going to search for the word name. I'm not using opportunity because you'll notice so many fields are preceded with opportunity underscore that it would return way too many results for us. So by using name, I was able to narrow it down much quicker. And then at the bottom, because I'm using Composer 8, we can do what we call text-based merge fields. So I'm going to keep that option ticked, but I don't want to include the field label. And then simply select the correct template format. So we're using Word. And then lastly, I'm really fond of using this copy field button. It'll click yellow really briefly, and then all I have to do is click in the appropriate spot on my template and paste. So if you all are familiar with the traditional merge fields that we used previously with Composer 7 and before, those will still work with Composer 8. We've just found that this is a much more user-friendly way of doing things, and the idea is to, of course, always make it easier for customers. So that's why we've moved a bit to those text-based merge fields. Let me grab a couple more fields here, maybe just close date, and I'll throw that over here. Okay, and then I'm going to go down, just give myself a little room here, and build another table for my opportunity line items. So the idea here is that we're building a contract, and again, you'll see when I do the swap out that it looks a lot nicer, but we maybe want product name, quantity, and price. So I'm just going to do 3 columns, but I am going to select 2 rows. And the reason being that then you can do a nice header row here. So maybe we do product name, quantity, and price. Okay, so you can do all sorts of things. We'll touch on it a little bit later. If you wanted to do any kind of formatting, you can do fill colors like that, or if you're kind of lazy like me, Word has this nice built-in design tab for tables, and you can just select a table style if you're more fond of that, if you want something colored, so maybe I do the gray one. Anyway, lastly, we're going to populate the products into that offline items data set because we want to show all of the particular products that the customer's purchasing in this contract template that we're building. So I'm going to filter by name again, but this time I'm going to grab product name and just paste it in that table cell. And then we'll do quantity. You can see it's smart enough that as you type it does sort of a live filter, which is kind of handy. And then lastly we'll get price. There's a few different prices, as I'm sure you all are aware, in the opportunity product, so just select the one that's appropriate to you. I'm going to do total price. Is the one that's sort of already done the math for you of sales price by quantity. Okay, so that looks really good, but the last thing we need to do when we're pulling any sort of data or fields from a data set other than master, org, or user, let me just use this collapse group sections button. You guys can see what I'm talking about a little bit easier. Anything that begins with master or the couple of sets we have at the bottom, org and user, as well as system, those are all what we call default data sets. So Conga will look to those. It'll scan through all of those by default. When you reference a field from there, it'll know to merge it automatically. So like opportunity name and opportunity close date that we have up at the top, those will work just fine, just the way we've built them. For the product name, quantity, and price, because they're coming from what we call a detailed data set, meaning this child object or related list on the opportunity, we have to tell Conga, hey, we're pulling data from such and such data set, and it's not in master, org, user, or system. So to do that, we build what we call a detail region. It's basically a fancy way of just providing those instructions to Conga Composer. So one way to do this is to sort of build your detail region on the fly, like if I did, if I just click over a couple of fields as an example. You'll see if I drag this out, it's building the table for me. If I scroll over, and you can see it has the table start and table end on either side. Those are the little instructions to Conga. Hey, we need to pull those fields from this particular data set rather than the default. Since I've already built my table in my template, I'm just going to build the table start and table end fields from scratch or by hand. As a best practice, we always recommend putting these in red font just because it makes them so much easier to find if you ever have to do any kind of troubleshooting in your template. And it's the same naming convention or field structure as I was doing previously. It's just two double braces, curly braces on either side of the field. And then the name is going to be the word table, the word start, a colon, or 2 points, some people call that, and then the name of the data set, which you can get really easily from Template Builder by just looking at that heading. Ours, again, is opline items. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, so I'm going to cheat a little bit and paste this over. Notice that it grabbed a couple of extra curly braces, the black ones on the end, so I want to delete those. And then instead of start on the right hand side, I'm going to do the word end. So that just indicates the start of the detail region and the end of the detail region. And again, detail region just being a fancy way to say anything that's coming between these two fields, table start and table end, or sometimes I almost think of them as bookends, is coming from the particular data set we've named. So we named opline items. So now Conga knows I need to go to the opline items data set and look for product name, opportunity line item quantity, and opportunity line item total price. Okay, so to get started, that's sort of a really easy way to get started. The last thing you might want to do on a couple of these fields, let me make this a bit bigger, is to format them. We have a couple of fields that would be really good for formatting. One being a date field. We probably want to specify a certain format for the date, and then the price as well, because we don't want that to just come through as a number. Since it is a price, we want to format it for currency so that it's showing our dollar sign. Formatting fields is really easy. You're just going to, let me blow this up really big, or zoom in, I should say. You just put your cursor just inside of the last two curly braces. So in between the end of the field name, ours is wrapped around, so that's the end of price, and then the double curly braces. Type a space, a backslash, a pound or hash symbol since we're doing a number, and then currencies are really easy. You just type the word currency. This isn't case sensitive, so I like to put a capital C. I think it makes it a little bit easier to read, but whatever you like. The currency that's going to be used is whatever you've defined in Salesforce setup under your locale. So because I have United States as my locale, it's going to use US dollars, but if I were in Australia, it would use Australian dollars. If I was in Britain, it's going to pull British pounds, so forth. It's not going to convert any numbers. Again, it's just the symbol that gets used, the currency symbol. So really similar up on close date. I'm just going to put my cursor at the end of the field, type a space, a backslash. This time I do an at symbol. That's just the way we delineate that we want to do a date. And then there's all sorts of what we call picture switches that you can do. They're just different ways to format dates. I particularly like mine spelled out. For example, May 14th, comma 2014. So I'm going to do 4 capital letter M's. That will spell out the month. A lowercase d for day, a comma just as our separator, and then 4 lowercase y's for year, and another quotation mark at the end. You want to do capital M's because lowercase m's are minutes for time, so that would be really weird if you ended up with minutes and then days and years. That would be a bit confusing. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, but what I'm going to do is jump back to the template builder window and I will show you all the fancy one that I had built out before. So here's our simple template swap out. If I hover on this magnifying glass field, it will open the Salesforce record where that's stored. That's our Conga template record. That would be cool, but it's not exactly the most exciting because it's not going to show you the actual Word document. So if I go one spot to the right with the little page and the arrow, that will actually download the template. This is also a really handy way if you ever are like, oh my gosh, Jane had that file on her computer and then she lost her laptop. Well, don't worry, they're all stored in the cloud, of course, in Salesforce, so you can just go find the appropriate spot and go download them. So you can see that I've done quite a bit of work on the swap out one. I made it quite a bit fancier. There's a few fields from org, opportunity owner, the account address, the primary contact. Those are all master or default fields. I've still got opportunity close date with my formatting. Sorry, I did 3 letters on the other one, so that'll be for May, it'll still spell it out. But if you had like April, it would just do APR. These formatting switches are listed in our documentation, so there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. And then the table down below, again, is a little bit different, but you can still see the main structure is there: table start, table end, with our fields in between. I actually had added another column for product family in this one, and then I did total price with the currency formatting at the end. And then because this is a service contract template, there's a spot to sign at the bottom. So if you were using EchoSign or DocuSign or Certify, you could populate that with an e-signature. That would be a really cool addition to this template. Okay, so just for merging sake, let's do preview, and you guys can see what this looks like when we actually merge to the template. The preview button versus the merge and download, the difference is just that if you had activity logging enabled for Conga, so like I have this test subject in here called my subject that would log a completed task. I don't want to do that every time I'm doing a little demo or a little test, so if you click preview, it'll download the file for you, but it won't do any of the field updating or activity logging that you might have specified over in the right hand side. Whereas if you do merge and download, it will take all those actions into account and actually log those things. So if you're doing testing, the preview button is really nice. So here is our output file for Ethna Home Products. You can see that we've got all of the fields coming in: opportunity name, the vendor, etc. The customer contact, the reason that's probably blank is I haven't specified a primary contact role for this particular opportunity, so that's those kind of things can be a good little gotcha when your reps or whoever merging your templates are generating those. If they see a blank, that's sometimes a good little reminder to go back into Salesforce and update some data. Then we're getting all of our products listed, and again, that's just blank down at the bottom for signature. So that's a really good place to start. I'm going to make a few tweaks to this sample one that we were using earlier just to show you guys another cool couple of features. So the first one that I want to do is show you how to automatically adjust a date field. And what I mean by this is you'll notice in the merged one that this was called effective date, where I had just the regular close date specified. But we also had right below it an expiration date. And this we want to be just 1 year exactly in the future from the initial close date. So what I'm going to do is just copy this field. Again, because we're using text-based merge fields, I can do this pretty confidently. With traditional merge fields, you wouldn't want to copy paste, you'd want to reinsert the field. And then there's this handy little tool that Conga offers called adjust. So I'm just going to type the word adjust with a colon at the beginning of my field name. And then at the end, I do another colon, and you're going to type 1 for 1 year in the future. If you wanted to go 1 year in the past, it would simply be -1, but I want 1 year ahead. So years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. So I did zeros for the rest of them because I don't want to adjust anything else further. I just wanted 1 year, but you do need to use zeros if you don't want anything else. You can't just leave that as 1 and nothing else. The other thing that I want to do is in the merged output file, you saw that I had that separate column for product family. In this one, I actually want to output a separate table for each of my distinct product families. I have products, installation, and services. This is really handy if you just need to call more attention to a particular value or grouping. So it's very similar to a Salesforce summary report where you are summarizing a report by a particular field, and each unique value for that field gets its own section in the report. Same sort of idea, but instead of a section in the report, you're going to get a distinct table each time. So you'll see what this looks like in the merged output. But basically what we want to do is just insert a row at the top of this table. We're going to build a new merge field called table group. So this is really similar to table start, where you're referring to the data set. You want this to match the data set that you've outlined below. And then you're going to refer to whatever field you want to group by or summarize by. So in that case, mine is product family, but I need to jump back to template builder because we want the exact field name as it appears here. I don't want to just guess and mess it up. Okay, pretty easy. It's product_family. I had still had my text-based merge fields formatting turned on, so I'm just going to take out the curly braces that had put in. And another thing that'll probably help me is if I go up to layout, I'm going to view grid lines just so that I can see the borders of this the cells, and I don't want my product family to have to be squished over on the left side, so I'm just going to highlight the whole row, right click, and do merge cells, and that way it has a bit more room. So that top row is now one big cell. Okay, so the last part of this is the word show. I'm going to keep this field in black rather than red because it actually is going to output on the merged output file. It's going to show up, and that's what the show means. The other option would be hide. If you wanted to group on something but not display the value, you could do that instead. But again, it's just table group, a colon, the data set name, which you can get from Template Builder, the field name you want to group by, and then either show or hide. Okay, we have two more things I want to show you before we run out of time here. One is to provide a grand total based on a column. And what I mean by that is I'm just going to add a row to the the bottom of my table, and I want to provide a sum total on this total price field. So I'm going to put grand total here, and we'll just move that over to the right, and then I want the actual grand total, the math, if you will, to occur here. But this isn't Excel where you can just, highlight a cell range and do a sum really easily. There's actually a formula field that Word has to take care of this. So if we're using text-based merge fields with our double curly braces, it's simply double curly brace, an equal sign, the word sum, open parenthesis, and then the word above, close parenthesis, and double curly brace. Let me just put a space there so that's a bit easier to see. And then maybe we want that in bold. And I'll write justify these as well. Since they're currency amounts, that's usually a good thing to do. So again, this will just take the sum total of anything that's above it. So because we're going to get those 4 products from our opportunity output in the output file, it'll just provide the grand total for us. Now, since we're using an opportunity, we really could just use the amount field, which does this for us, but I'm using the sum above just because I wanted to show it to you guys. You can do it on any sort of number field. So if I wanted a grand total of quantity, you could do that as well. You can have multiple of them, so I could have a sum above for price and another one for quantity. That doesn't matter. The only thing is that you don't want to merge any cells It needs to have, wherever the sum above or sum above are, that row needs to have the same number of columns as whatever it's totaling on. So that's why I'm keeping these 3 cells in the bottom row and these 3 cells in the top row, or middle row, I should say. Okay, so the very last thing is that I thought it would be cool to show you guys a little bit about table styles, because that's often a question we get from customers about different formatting tips and tricks. So if I'm on this table, just anywhere clicked inside of here, an easy way to get to this is by this little borders button. If you click the drop down next to it and go all the way to the bottom for borders and shading, you get tons and tons of options. So my colleague Rob actually showed me a cool one the other day because I hadn't even explored these very much. But there's this sort of gray, kind of bold black one that I'm kind of fond of. And then over here, if you just click on the particular borders that you want, I'm just going to do the outside borders and click OK. See how that makes that look immediately a little bit more professional? But anyway, you can play with whatever ones you like. There's all sorts of different styles in here. You can also use the table styles that I had showed you all before. That, turn it on for every single cell. So there's some different options. The one that I was referring to before are these table styles that Word has built in for you. So if you like those better, you can kind of pick and choose your own by going to borders and shading like I did previously, or do table styles. They're kind of built for you out of the box. Okay, so if I minimize this and I go back on my template builder, it'll take us back to the main Conga Composer dialog. And this time I'm going to select Advanced Template. This has the table grouping and the adjust field. The table styles got a little bit fancier, the formatting I should say, all of that stuff. So you can see what this looks like in the output. So see how we have that gray kind of heavy border that I just turned on in the other one? The table group is pretty cool, I think. So we're getting products, installation, and services. And then probably what would have been better, I should have done, is deleted this product family column because we're already showing it up at the top. We probably don't need to repeat it, but for illustration purposes, I thought that might be kind of nice for you guys to see both. And then the product itself, of course, the quantity and the total price, and then the grand total down at the bottom. So that is everything. Oh, lastly, you can see here on our adjust, our expiration date, the original close date is May 5th, 2014. We just moved this 1 year in the future, so it's May 5th, 2015. And again, that was using that adjust feature. So that's kind of a handy one if you need to alter dates. I think we have just a couple minutes for questions. I know I went through that really quickly, but I want to pass it back to Teresa and see if we've gotten any questions coming in on the GoToWebinar.
Muted.
Great, thanks, Shelley. We did get a couple of questions. One question is, can you hide rows and just show the auto sum?
Unmuted.
That's a great question. There's not a way to hide rows as far as like a row hide or some sort of little Conga feature like that. There is a way to just display this grand total at the bottom, and it would be using what we call an aggregated query or a sum query, where we could say you'd write a SOQL query that pulls just the products and then provides the sum amount on the total price, and you'd be able to display just this grand total rather than having to show each of the line items. And that's something that our support team can help you with. There's also some documentation about it on our website. I wish I could show it to you today. It just would take probably 5 minutes to go through, and unfortunately we don't have enough time. So if you look up sum query or aggregated query, that's where you want to go. That'll get you there.
Okay, great. And then one question is, do you have to manually merge each?
Sorry, Teresa, do I have to manually merge the template each time? Was that the question?
Yes.
Okay. So I was manually merging the template each time just to show you all what it looked like. You can certainly make as many changes as you want and just kind of save them all up to the end and then do a merge at the end, that kind of thing. You can also, I had these already loaded into Conga templates, so they're already uploaded into Salesforce. The other option is you can click this local template tab if you're a sysadmin or if you've turned on this option for your users, and you can select a file from anywhere on your local computer and just use that as a test, and then once you've got it dialed in, you can upload it to Conga templates. The other way I might have been misinterpreting your question, if you mean more like an automatic merge rather than having to manually click a button or a link, have that happen as the result of some sort of other thing in Salesforce happening, we can do that. It requires an add-on product we have called Conga Workflow. It's really neat. It's the ability to fire off Conga Composer processes as the result of a Salesforce workflow rule. So maybe on your opportunity, for example, anytime the stage changes to closed won, you want to send that contract template, we could set that up for you. If it's not something you already have on your subscription, we do offer a free 30-day trial with tech support, so you guys could take a look at that and see if it's something that you're interested in before having to pay for any of it.
Muted.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions we have for now. Do you mind navigating us to the support page? I just want to be able to show everybody our new support page and kind of help navigate them through pretty quickly. And Shelly, I might let you talk since you have the controls.
Okay, so what I did there, everybody, was just from our main Conga Merge website. If you click support, it'll take you, it's actually a different URL, it's a whole different site, but they are linked together. We're calling it Conga Sphere, and it's just kind of the place to be for any sort of Conga support related resources. And you'll see that we've redesigned this just to accommodate for the two different releases that we have available concurrently right now. Release 7 is everything up through version 7. So if you're on version 1 all the way through 7, this is what you fall into. We've got a little preview of the image here of the user interface so you can kind of get a reminder of what version you might be on. Release 8 is that brand new one that came out last week, and that's the one that I was demoing today. You can then see we've got resources aligned to each particular thing. So if you're interested in documentation, the parameters, webinars, you guys probably are very interested in those since you're on today. You can also get it now. We'll download the release 8. If you're a current customer, it'll upgrade your package. If you're new, it will just install that into your Salesforce org. And then it goes through our other products. So Conga Courier is our other application, scheduled email delivery of Salesforce reports. And then we have down at the bottom Composer add-ons, all of our different other products that you might be interested in. What I love, probably one of my favorite things about the new site, is if you scroll to the bottom, you can do this take your Conga skills to the next level. And there's this do more with Conga. If you click here, it'll take you to use cases that can give you a good jump to your brain about how you might use Conga in other ways at your company. We also have this, what we're calling deep dives, which are just kind of more advanced topics on Conga Composer if you feel like you've already gotten kind of the basics down, and they're divided into different categories like templates and data gathering. So there's all kinds of things on here, tips and tricks, links to our blog. We write there regularly every week with a new tip or trick you guys might be interested in. And then of course the search capability up at the top was just a live search of our knowledge base, which is great. We don't have time to go through all of this in detail, but University is a new tool we're offering. It's paid training, so if you want super in-depth Conga training, you can pay to do Conga University. We have special introductory pricing, and those classes actually start next week, so you might want to jump on here and watch this video to learn more about that. Live support is where you can get solutions to common problems, look up common error messages, and then at the bottom it has all of our contact information. So those are the main components of the site. It's all of the stuff that you knew and loved before. It's just been reorganized a bit because of this new release. So if you have any questions about it, please do submit feedback. Support@congamerge.com is usually the best way to get in touch with us.
Muted.
Okay, great. Thanks, Shelly. Do you mind just scrolling to the end of the slides for us? Thanks for walking us through that support page. And as I mentioned earlier, this webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series. We do have lots of different webinars covering anything from getting started with Conga Composer to Conga Composer e-signature solutions, adding logic to Conga Composer templates. Our webinars occur every Tuesday, and then every other Wednesday and Thursday we try to cover a more advanced topic, so watch out for that. And you can find access to register for these webinars on that support page under the webinar registration link. And as always, just be sure to let us know what you think, and we hope you enjoyed this session, and we hope you have a great day.